Welcome to the Onyx Path News. I think based on my numbering, we're on number 22 of the Onyx Path News. We've been going for a little while now, nearly half a year of news. That doesn't sound as exciting as it probably should. I'm just going to adjust my lighting before anyone else arrives. Ooh, that's moody. We have moody lighting now. Well, if you are only just joining me, right now I'm not seeing people fill the room, do chime in to say that you're here. As you know, I always appreciate a rapt audience. And let's see here. I am going to pop out the chat window of my laptop. And hello, Chaos RCTM. Always good to see you, Chaos. Always good to see you, Preston. Preston is a regular viewer of the news. Elvis Janssen as well, of course. That strange mix of Scandinavian and hip-swinging king of rock and roll. If you were actually christened, or I guess named Elvis Janssen, I would love to hear the story behind that someday. Maybe not right now. So I'm just going to get the window open there. So yes, welcome back to the Onyx Path News, number 22. Howdy, Tom Scott. It's always good to see everyone rolling in. I'm going to wait for another few people to turn up before I start talking about new releases and Kickstarter and Backerkit and the usual stuff, and then we can start talking about some of the ongoing projects like we usually do. Hello, Elijah Gist. Always good to see all of you here. Thank you very much for tuning in live. It means a lot that you want to watch the Onyx Path News live as it's rolling out. I know most news channels wouldn't spend this much time thanking the audience for tuning in, but it's the kind of person I am, it's the kind of host I am. I'm grateful for your time and your attention. Now, as soon as we get into double digits, that's what I'm waiting for. I want to wait until we get into double digits and then I'll actually start talking to you about the news. So before we get into double digits, you might as well ask me a question. Do you have a question? Any question at all, within reason, and I will answer it to the best of my ability. Now's the time, just before the news itself starts. How are you today? Well, Elvis, that was a very easy question to answer. I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm going off to Tabletop Scotland at the end of this week, so that will be fun. My first time north of the border, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to running some They Came From Beneath the Sea there. I've been having a good day of redlining, and I was also asked by Chaos RCTM whether I believe pineapple should go on pizza. Well, I'm not adverse to the Hawaiian. It's not my first pick for a pizza, but if I'm over someone's house for, let's say, a WrestleMania party or some other wrestling event and there's a few pizzas out, I won't say no to a slice of pizza with ham, mushroom and pineapple on. Yes, I know it's heresy, Marius Salisbury, but luckily we're not playing in the 40k universe, so I can get away with it. So, we're now in double digits. So, welcome to the Onyx Path News. Let's talk about this week's releases. Or should I say last week's releases? It's a release of, damn you, going down to single digits. We're going to carry on. We're going to soldier on. The Book of Oblivion for Wraith the Oblivion 20th Anniversary Edition came out last Wednesday in print, and that's a book I developed, so I can speak about it with a little bit of authority. It's a book that is primarily designed to tell you about the fun antagonists of Wraith the Oblivion. Whether that's Spectral Society, the Shadow, Thorns, Harrowings. There's all kinds of interesting tools in there, lots of fun for the storyteller to use, but also the other players. Again, the other players play each other's shadows. So there's lots of new shadow archetypes in there. There's information about the Tempest and the kind of natural or unnatural disasters that occur in the underworld. There are also respective chapters for different underworlds that exist within the broader underworld. So, for instance, we have information on the Swar. So, Swarga is the underworld for India, Southeast Asia. We have the Dark Kingdom of what have we got? We've got gold. We've got ivory. I think we've flint. So you've got the broadly West African underworld in the Book of Oblivion. You have the North American underworld in the Book of Oblivion. You've got a whole bunch of dark kingdoms throughout Book of Oblivion, and so that means not only does the book serve as a tool for antagonists, it's also a fantastic tool just for world building. It means your characters can start, if they have been primarily based in Stygia and European and North American necropoli, you can start venturing out and exploring part of that world and start creating characters who come from the Mirrorlands, for instance, because there's even some new arcanoi in the book. So yeah, the Book of Oblivion, it is available now. It is available in print on demand as well as in PDF, and I very much recommend you check it out. All you have to do is type Book of Oblivion into DriveThruRPG and you will find it, or if you want to wait until this video is over, I will be posting links to the books I'm talking about in the description below. So, that's the newest release, and this week from the onyxpath.com we will be selling something else. So on Wednesday there will be a new release as related to Scion RPG. I believe it was juggling between Scion and Exalted, so you just have to wait and see what that's going to be. We'll talk about it a little more on the next news episode. So, Kickstarter. As you know, there are no Kickstarters currently ongoing, but that's because I've only just recently finished our last one for Aberrant, which did very well, and our next one aimed is Deviant the Renegades for Chronicles of Darkness, where you are playing cyborgs, clones, people that have had experiments performed upon them and escaped from labs, volunteers for that kind of thing too, and that one's going to be a lot of fun. The developer Eric Zawadzki's got a lot of fun ideas, and the writers really a superb job on that book. So do stay tuned. We will be announcing that once it goes live. Link says, what about Geist the Sin Eater's second edition? Geist the Sin Eater's second edition is just, I think, having some proofing done or erratering put it into it. It's very close to release now. It's already been on Kickstarter, but that takes us on to Backerkit, because if you missed the Geist the Sin Eater's Kickstarter, or indeed any of our other Kickstarters, and that book hasn't been sent out in print yet, you can still buy it on Backerkit in its deluxe or prestige or traditionally printed edition, depending on the type of book we're talking about. So if you missed the Geist the Sin Eater's Kickstarter, that's alright, you can still find it on Backerkit. Do look up backerkit.com. By all means type in the Onyx Path, or just Geist the Sin Eaters, or Chicago by Night, They Came From Beneath the Sea, Dystopia Rising. All of these books, Dark Eras 2, are still available on Backerkit until we release them in print, at which point they will no longer be there. Hello to a bunch of other people that are arriving, including Impronounceable Name, Keegan and Travis. Good to see you again. Our numbers of live viewers keep going up and up and up. Everyone give me a thumbs up right now. I want to see those thumbs suddenly going boop, boop, boop. Right now we're on a paltry 3. So I want to see that expand. I want to at least see 6. Double it. There we go. We went straight up to 6. Thank you very much. If we can get even... Oh, 7. Good lord. Kid Banff, you did make it in time. We've spoken about new releases, we've spoken about Kickstarter, we've spoken about Get Backerkit. I'm now getting more thumbs than I know what to do with. Here's something we don't usually talk about. Something a little awkward, a little uncomfortable. It's our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel, and subscription and promotion. You know, these channels can only really grow through word of mouth. Friends need to tell friends. People need to talk in their communities, their Facebook communities, their Discords, about this channel, about our Twitch channel. And it helps us get more viewers, which means we get to tell people about our product a little more. So my mission for you today, thank you for all the thumbs, everybody. My mission for you today, my homework for you, is if you like what the Onyx Path does with our role-playing games, and if you like this regular content we put out on YouTube and Twitch, and there's different content going up on both, and that's deliberate because we want people to tune into both for different things. and it's good for us to be in multiple places for media, then tell people about them. Go on the Vampire the Masquerade Facebook group and say, if you aren't watching the Onyx Path YouTube channel, you really should, because you'll find out insights about upcoming vampire books. Go on your favourite Discord channel and say, hey, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe to this channel. This isn't me saying, please subscribe, although I am saying, please subscribe. I would just appreciate it. We recently broke 4,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, which is superb. We recently achieved affiliate status on Twitch, which is also superb. The more people we can get watching, the more product we can sell, and that's a purely mercenary thing, but it means the more products we can create. Akorin, Role-Playing World Building, says, when's the next Wraith game up on my Patreon account? We have the next game planned not this weekend, because I'm at Tabletop Scotland, but the weekend after that. So we've done character creation, the videos for which will soon be going up on this channel, short of creating each other's shadows. But our 4 players are ready to start playing in Necropolis, East Berlin. Circa 1988, I think the game was set at. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. If you're interested in my Patreon, I know this is the Onyx Path News, as someone asked. I take leave to advertise it. Just type in Matthew Dawkins Patreon, you'll find it. Or go on MatthewDawkins.com, you'll find links to everything I do on there, including a big list of the books I've worked on. If you have ever had any doubt over the books I've worked on, you can find the full list on MatthewDawkins.com. So, what else do we want to talk about? Community content. Now, recently I've been spending an awful lot of time on the Slurician Vault. That's the Scarred Lands community content program. But today I'm going to be going somewhere slightly different, and that's Canis Minor, or Canis Minor if you prefer. Our community content program for Monarchies of Mao and Pugmire. And why am I doing that? Because there's been about 3 products on that community content program I've not told people about yet. And one of them in particular, not to detract from the other 2, but one of them in particular is a very special book indeed. And I would just like to say, there's 20 of you watching, there's only 11 thumbs up, so I want to see more of them. This book is called Morty Corgi's Scroll of Mysteries. I'm going to repeat that. Morty, that's M-O-R-T-Y, Morty Corgi's Scroll of Mysteries. And this book, you would not believe that it is made by fans. It is so professionally made, and the writing team behind it is so talented. The content of it, I'll actually go straight to the page on Canis Minor here. Let's see. It says, this is not just another Realms of Pugmire supplement. Within these pages you will find a rather impressive collection of new material for use of Pugmire and Monarchies of Mao. Virtually every component of the system is touched on in this book, offering new and exciting tools for players and guides alike. Beyond the utility of this volume, beyond the fresh ideas and incalculable hours of fun contained within, you will find a love letter from a dozen creators to the Realms of Pugmire. So it's got new breeds, callings and houses, backgrounds, masterworks, enemies, NPCs, new tricks, secrets and spells. Do check out Morty Corgi's Scroll of Mysteries. And I would say that even if you're not traditionally a fan of Pugmire and Monarchies of Mao, because what it can tell you as a potential creator is the kind of content you can create and sell and make money on. And sod off to you too, Solomon Birch. I don't ascribe to your Lonquet et Sanctum. Does it look like my webcam has been dunked in a container of Vaseline? We'll see what we can do about that. This is where it all falls off, of course. Because what you want to see is me polishing my camera. We seem to have balance. Is that better? Is that better? Maybe the glow of the happy light on the floor, of course, it is creating a bit of a beam, but I think it's a bit better than having the light from up above. You don't like the Lancaster at Sanctum standard, Solomon Birch. I don't blame you. They've treated you awfully. So anyway, do check out Morty Corgi's Scroll of Mysteries on Canis Minor. Yeah, there's been an awful lot of Pugmire content going up. We have also had The Cat Will Mew and the Dog Will Have His Day, which is a scenario with a whole bunch of additional material too. That is by Dylan R. Cockle, and we also have Life on the Road by Carol Litwinchuk, which is an unofficial guide to travel in the realms of Pugmire. So do check out Canis Minor, and even if you're not interested in buying, it's a decent place to start hosting your own content if you want to create content for Pugmire and Monarchies of Mau. Please do look it up, even if it's just to post a single character or spell or masterwork. It's a wonderful way to get your foot in the door of content creation. So it would appear that my camera footage is somehow faulty right now, and I can only apologise for that. I hope you can still hear me. What I will do at this point, as we've talked about, what have we talked about? We've talked about new releases, we've talked about Kickstarter, we've talked about Backerkit, we've talked about community content. We can still talk a little about media, because if you've not tuned into our Twitch channel, I'm glad you can hear me. I'm very sorry you can't see me very well, Grog and Pavel and the rest of you. It's tragic. Because I can tell you right now that I look wonderful. I've never looked better. I'm sounding a bit presidential right now, don't you think? If you haven't checked out twitch.tv/the Onyx Path, please do so, because we are streaming pretty much every day now, a different game, a different essay on a different game. And over the weekend, David Fuller, who is currently in our chat room on this video, is talking. I'm currently reading your comments as they're popping up, and they're very amusing. It is currently running a Scion scenario on the Twitch channel, so please do check that out, because he's only just did a session 0. There is also a session 0 of a Pugmire game, which is I think it's called Pause and Effect or Clause and Effect. For some reason my mind is failing me, and I should know better. It's Pause and Clause, rather. My name may have even been better for it. Pause and Clause episode 0. It was up on Twitch, but it's also now on our YouTube channel, so please do check these things out. We've got so many other pieces of content coming. There's even a V5 actual play going up on there. Yes, this is the La Sombra curse. Finally everyone has worked out which clan I belong to, and it's Clan La Sombra. Our Twitch channel, though, my point, if you haven't subscribed to it already, please go ahead and do so. And what's more, because we're affiliates now, if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to it for free, and you can get exclusive content. That glow from the floor is a happy lamp. That's interesting, so some people can see me. So now, with these 31 live viewers, and I can only apologise for the lack of visual quality right now, it's completely out of my control, we turn it over to the usual Q&A. Before we do, I'm going to tell you a little about some things that are going on. I was redlining some work today for Monsters from the Deep, for They Came From Beneath the Sea. There was a big bestiary, and I do love bestiaries, a big monster manual for They Came From. And I came across what is maybe my favourite monster introduced. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of hand motions. I should do them more over my face. Maybe it'll clear things a little. My favourite monster introduced so far is there's an aquatic spider that, with its fellows, comes up from the deep, to steal our cultural monuments and take them down for their amusement parks under the water. I like that. I like the idea of an army of spiders stealing the Statue of Liberty and putting it at the bottom of the ocean so that they can celebrate it themselves. That to me seems very They Came From Beneath the Sea. They steal people as well to put in cages, but I think the stealing cultural monuments is something that really resonates with me as a They Came From threat. Yes, inspiration from real life Daniel Toomey. I have often gone around stealing cultural monuments. They don't allow me in the British Museum anymore. Of course, if I stole from there, I'd be stealing the cultural monuments of everyone but the British. And now, the other thing I've been working on quite extensively, as I mentioned the other week, was Cults of the Blood Gods for V5. And Cults of the Blood Gods is currently with White Wolf for approval. And White Wolf have... oh, hello. I've been playing White Wolf RPG games for around 15 years now. The storyteller and the storytelling. Why do people continue asking for storyteller whilst storyteller struggles at growing? I don't know that the system struggles at growing, because we have the storyteller system, we have the storytelling system, now we have the story path system, and arguably the story path system is the most refined version. It's what's used for Scion, Dystopia Rising. And I really enjoy there's certain fate aspects and age aspects as well. So I think story path is the ultimate refinement, but also, although V5 uses quite a different version of the storyteller system, it is still a storyteller system. So the system has shown signs of change throughout the years. I think it stands up because it's a pretty well balanced system in general. A lot of the time, what needs changing is the way the powers actually work. So celerity was always a big one. Why the Statue of Liberty, says Daniel Toomey. I just chose the Statue of Liberty at random. I guess they could steal the Eiffel Tower if they chose, but the Statue of Liberty is quite close to the sea, so if aquatic spiders were to steal any, I think the Statue of Liberty would be one of the first to go. Yeah, I think it could be quite amusing if they take the Golden Gate Bridge and just submerge it. That could be fun. So anyway, Cult of the Blood Gods. Yes, I think we will probably see a Kickstarter soon. What we will want first is for White Wolf to have improved the text and for me to be able to make any amendments they suggest. Once I've done that, we'll be able to go ahead with the Kickstarter. It's pretty much as simple as that. Kid Bamf wants to know why we don't have a Book of the Wild, a Book of the Weaver, where we had a Book of the Worm for 20th anniversary. Mostly it's because those aspects of Werewolf don't sell as well. Historically, they never did. People like books of antagonists, and the Weaver and the Wild are always a little less obvious as antagonists to the Book of the Worm, because every Werewolf the Apocalypse game you see has got the Worm in as the chief antagonist. The Wild especially doesn't appear often, but I recently finished writing the Werewolf the Apocalypse art book, which hopefully you should see on sale in the next couple of months, and I have separate chapters for the Weaver and the Wild in that, so there you go. That's something that you probably didn't know about. Let me just check with the chat log. What are my thoughts on Cyberpunk the RPG, asks Solomon Birch. I'm a big fan of Cyberpunk. I haven't played it much, you know. I played most Cyberpunk when I first started getting into role-playing. I did a lot of Cyberpunk and Shadowrun, and I played, you know, my fair share of Street Samurais and Rocker Boys and the like. But I'm a big fan of it. I've come around to preferring transhumanism more than body augmentation. So Eclipse Phase is my brand of sci-fi now more than Cyberpunk, but I still love it. It's just one outweighs the other in terms of my preferences. Link says, I've been looking everywhere online and real life tables to play the storyteller games and I barely find it. I would recommend, Link, that you go on the Onyx Path forums to see whether there's any games to join up, or on the Onyx Path Discord to find any games, because we can point you in the direction of some fantastic games. And as Travis Legg just pointed out, Occultists Anonymous, the Mage the Awakening game using storytelling, which you will find on the Twitch channel. Yeah, let's see. Do you have a Goodreads profile that we might pursue for inspiration and to understand your madness, says Beej. I don't have a Goodreads profile, but as I said, if you go on MatthewDawkins.com, you can certainly see all the books I've written. I can tell you this, in terms of, let's see, in terms of inspiration for my writing, there you go, as you've asked for what makes me mad. Inspiration for my writing comes from my favourite 3 authors. And apologies if you've heard this before. I have 3 favourite authors, and they're the 3 J's. I'll see if you can guess any of them. Can you guess even one of the 3 authors' first name beginning with J? And if you can win, if you can say it, you win a prize. If you can name one of them. So here you go. J.R. Tolkien is not one of them, Preston Bobo. J.R. Tolkien is not much of an inspiration to me, although that isn't to say I don't enjoy Lord of the Rings. I'm more a Michael Moorcock fantasy fan. I was imbued with a bitterness towards fantasy at an early age due to the history of the rune staff. So not J.R. Tolkien. And I'll give you a clue, it's not J.K. Rowling either. So, another J. Jane Austen. Jane Austen is one of them, Elvis Jansen. Quite correct. You win a prize. I'll tell you what it is at the end. Jackie Collins. Yeah, Jordan Katie Price. That's her autobiography really inspired me. So far, I'm not seeing any of the other authors come up, so I'll tell you about why Jane Austen is such an inspiration. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking Jane Austen is an author trapped in a certain century, that it's books for women, some people will say, which is somehow a derogatory thing, or somehow it's lazy and romantic, and I completely disagree. I think that the skill of Jane Austen as a writer is characterization. There is something so utterly fantastic about the characters in Jane Austen novels that they become full colour on the page. You know, when they're just in text, you can picture them, you can hear their voices, and yeah, some of them, sometimes they're stereotypes, sometimes they fill a need for the book. But Jane Austen is, for me, one of the kings or queens, I guess, of literature. And Beej, James Joyce, is the second. So well done, Beej. You also win a prize. James Joyce is someone I look to for inspiration when I want to tell a narratively strong tale, because Joyce. Okay, so Joyce also does something fascinating with characters as an author. He completely removes them from everything that's going on around them. And this is where my third author completely clamps down. And my third one is my absolute favourite author. But James Joyce almost gives a dissonance between character and event, and allows you as the reader to almost look around the world from the perspective of the character that you're reading about. Everything is described in such amazing detail from the character's perspective. And when I can compare it to a lot of modern authors of literature, where things are just painted with such dull strokes, James Joyce has a way of, again, making the world come alive, but not through exposition, but through dialogue. And James Joyce, does that for me. I think there's an awful lot of James Joyce work that is incredibly difficult. I think, in a way, it has to be difficult. James Joyce isn't necessarily an author I enjoy, but James Joyce is a wonderful author to experience. You can learn a hell of a lot from him. So I'm seeing lots of other fantastic suggestions. John Irving is a brilliant author, but not the one I was thinking of. Actually, is it John Irving I'm thinking of? But no, that isn't the one I'm thinking of right now. If you've read Beckett's Jihad Diary, by the way, you may know that one of the openings to one of the chapters is based in very strongly, almost ripped off, you could say, from a work by this last author beginning with J. This is fun. How often do you actually get to talk about literature on the Onyx Path News? Obviously, all of our RPGs are literature, but this is it's a different thing. How's my visual coming through now, or is it all just still audio? Either way, can anyone guess the final J of the three? J. Neil Gaiman. Unfortunately not. It's not J. Neil Gaiman, it's not J. Terry Pratchett, it's not J.P. Lovecraft. Any hints, asks Pavel. John Steinbeck. Steinbeck would have been a fantastic choice, but it isn't Steinbeck. So any hints? Okay. It's not J. Johanna Jameson either. So the last one is a writer of... We'll start by saying... I'll go for speculative fiction. If you can guess who it is from speculative fiction, we'll see where we can go from there. It's not Jamiroquai, it's not James McGee, it's not Jacqueline Carey. This is the Matthew Dawkins autobiography hour right now. We finished with the Onyx Path News. This is just talking about excellent novelists. Jim Butcher is not Jim Butcher, because you know what? This recently came up on the World of Darkness Discord. I'm sorry, yeah, the visual is obscure. I've still never read any Dresden Files novels, and Henry Turtledove's alternate history novels are brilliant, and it's not J. Jonah Jameson either, or J. John James. It's not Jules Verne. Okay, do you give up? Do you want to know? Anyone want to just... We'll call it there and I'll tell you. It means the last prize will be lost. I am sorry again for the lack of visual quality that's coming through on this broadcast. I can't account for it. Okay, if Brill Chan gives up, I think everyone gives up. I do know Jim Butcher is brilliant. I just haven't got around to him yet. I in fact have a whole bunch of Dresden File books on Audible waiting for me to listen to. Alright, so my final author is J.G. Ballard. Do you know who J.G. Ballard is? J.G. Ballard is probably the most influential author of my life. He has a super unrivaled way. Yeah, everyone is now Googling J.G. Ballard, not related to Horatio Ballard in Chicago by Night. Some people will know the movies based on J.G. Ballard's work, like Crash, which starred James Spade. High Rise, which starred Tom Hiddleston. I Win the Last Prize, which is actually all the previous prizes, I'm afraid to say. That was what the last prize was, so yeah, I won all of them. Sorry. Empire of the Sun, starring a very young Christian Bale, is a J.G. Ballard novel, but that one's more autobiographical. So J.G. Ballard wrote an awful lot of short fiction and also full-length novels, but for the most part they were all dystopian. Well, for the most part they were all. A lot of them were dystopian. And he was very experimental. How do I write the last author name? J.G. Ballard, B-A-L-L-A-R-D. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. I'll talk a little about my favourite of his novels, which is High Rise. And High Rise is a novel about a high-rise apartment block where you have a lot of very middle class professionals all moving into different floors of the high rise. And the high rise is completely self-sustaining. It has a floor with a supermarket, it has a floor with a swimming pool, it has a floor with a bank and a barber's and everything like that, but it also has floors where everyone lives. And on the bottom floors you have all the families, and on the top floors you have all the singles, but they're all middle class, they're all professionals. But as the novel goes on, almost a new form of class warfare breaks out. Because it's all self-sustaining, no one ever wants to leave the high-rise apartment block. So the people on the bottom floor all want to go up because it's cleaner up there, there's more room up there, but people up the top want to invade down below because they're always making noise, or at least that's the insinuation. A lot of jealousy breaks out between the different floors. So, for instance, if you live on the top floor, you are permitted to park right outside the building because theoretically you've got further to travel to get to your car. Whereas if you live on the bottom floor, you've got to walk all the way across the car park to get to your car. So everyone halfway up the building is just throwing bricks and vases and things like that out the window to smash all the cars of the people who live above them, just because it's their way of vandalizing and sending offal up in the elevators and just setting them to spring open to sabotage the people above, so that everyone above is urinating down the elevator shafts at the people below. It becomes very grim, and it brings out the basest parts of human nature, and has three protagonists. You have someone from the bottom floor, someone from the middle, someone from the top. And Pavel just asked if they make a mediocre movie of this novel. I thought the movie was actually very good, but the novel is better, as is often the case. Tom Hiddleston was in it. You also had Jeremy Irons, who tends to be very good in everything. James Purefoy. Anyway, Sienna Miller, Elizabeth Moss. It's very much like a block war in Judge Dredd. Brill-chan. It is very similar. In fact, I think it came out in the same year as the Dredd movie. And yeah, High Rise for me, and there's another one called Concrete Island, which is basically Robinson Crusoe if you crash your car and get stuck on an island and no one is ever stopping because they're just driving by too fast. And so this person ends up having to live their life on a concrete island, living off of things like chips that are thrown out of windows and half-filled bottles of drink that are just deposited out on the roundabout on between here and there, and people just forget about this person's existence, except he is living there, becoming a Robinson Crusoe in a urban environment. Anyway, so you wanted to know about my favourite three authors, my most influential authors. There's a long answer to a very short question. Jane Austen, James Joyce, J.G. Ballard. And I recommend anyone reads the works of J.G. Ballard. They're not always most accessible, but they will always leave you thinking at the end of them. So that's a very long answer, as I say. Let's do a couple more questions, hopefully more Onyx Path related now. But I'm glad to have engaged all of you for so long. I mean, hell, that the viewership's gone up. So, as someone asked, was that a scenario? J.G. Ballard's High Rise I used as inspiration for a scenario in Cult Da Vinci Lost, which is in the Taroticum over my shoulder, and there's also a weird high rise in one of the chapters of Becker's Jihad Diary. I love the idea, the visuals of being trapped almost in a vertical dungeon, where every floor is progressively worse. And that is very much what High Rise is. One of the characters' mission in the entire story is to get higher and higher and higher so they can find the architects of the building, and the higher they get, the less stability they have by the end of it, because they're leaving their natural environment, to the point where this person, whose name is Richard Wilder, and this is very well done in the movie, as he's getting higher and higher, occasionally he will be repeating his name to himself. He'll be saying, "My name is Richard Wilder, my name is Richard Wilder," and he's determined to make a documentary as he's going up, because that's his living. He's a documentary maker, and by the time he gets about 3/4 of the way up, he's saying his name. He's going, and he just can't say it anymore because he's just completely lost his mind. By the time he gets to the top, he's just no longer Richard Wilder, and it's a very weird, scary scene. Keegan now asks, back on topic, favourite art in an RPG but currently not Onyx Path related? Ooh. Favourite art, probably Cult Divinity Lost, and that's interesting because Michelle Masala also says, would you recommend Cult? I would recommend it. It is a very dark, very grim game. It is Hellraiser, the RPG, so you have to be prepared to be playing a game where there's an awful lot of grimness. It's World of Darkness with the gloves off, if you prefer, if you like, but if you've got the right group for that, then it's perfect. It's must have just been an odd connection problem, Kid Bamf. But yeah, I think Cult Divinity Lost is one of the best RPGs out right now for production values. It looks wonderful. Now, in terms of our books that have recently come out, I really have to recommend, actually, The Forsaken. And in fact, that answers the question Elvis just posed. You know, Wealth in second edition really just grabbed me, where in a way first edition didn't. And I don't know how much that's art direction, how much of it's writing, but I look at a book like Shunned by the Moon that came out a few weeks ago, and even the PDF alone, seeing the way the Idigam are presented, the Gerayo, the Pure, the art in Wealth the Forsaken second edition is brilliant. It just captivates me. And oddly, Werewolf the Apocalypse did the same thing. It was that old Ron Spencer Werewolf the Apocalypse art that I loved. Shone by the Moon is something I very much recommend everyone checks out. Wonderful art, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Maybe not an expected answer. I would also put Promethean the Created up there too. I am a sentient pixel. Now I have finally coalesced. I'm really looking forward to you seeing the art for They Came From Beneath the Sea. And, of course, yeah, see, everyone's suggesting fantastic artists now. John Cobb's art in Wraith the Oblivion is so distinctive. David Nash says, what the heck happened to your diversity in gaming video? Which diversity in gaming video was that? I know I did one. On my channel, not on this channel. Why? What do you mean what's happened to it? I'm assuming it's... I'm assuming this... Yeah, you know what? I love the fact that right now in the comments, people are calling out the artists they really enjoy, because it's so rare for the artists to receive as much credit as the writers and developers. And they deserve it. The artists, the editors, the layout artists especially, they really deserve so much credit because it's the art that draws us in. I don't think I've deleted an equality and diversity video from my channel, David. It should still be on there. So if I remember to look after the stream is done, I'll post a link maybe in the comments below if I can find it. I'm trying to think of a reason why I might have removed it, and I can't think of a reason I would have. In fact, and this is an odd one, if you type Matthew Dawkins into Google, if you type Matthew Dawkins into Google, I'm fairly certain one of the top rated Reddit posts about me is about that diversity in gaming video, so you should still be able to find it through there if nowhere else. Tony DiTolizzi is probably my favourite RPG artist because he pulled me into Planescape and he pulled me into Changing the Dreaming when nothing else would, and it took the art for Changing the Dreaming to make me read it, and when I read it I fell in love with it. Is Demon the Descent considered a second edition? I think it kind of is. I don't think we're going to be doing a new Demon the Descent anytime soon, not with Deviant Hunter and Mummy all on the horizon. I was asked, what am I working on right now? I am currently redlining Monsters of the Deep, They Came From Beneath the Sea. And I think after that I will probably be doing post-editing development on Let the Streets Run Red before I go on to finishing the red lines for Tales of Aquatic Terror. Sorry, the buffering is bad for everyone. So yeah. The Bard. I thought this is going to be a strange thing to say, but people were saying you died. I'm glad that wasn't the case. Rob Walker says, can you give us a preview on your favourite monster from They Came From Beneath the Sea? As I mentioned, I'm a particular fan of the spiders that have been introduced in Monsters from the Deep, because they go around stealing cultural landmarks and people, and I just love the idea of spiders scurrying off with Mount Rushmore, for instance, under the water. That would take some doing, wouldn't it? But what else do I love? Can I name... What else do I love in the current book that we're looking at? Well, you know, Rob, I'm a big fan of Mr. Frosty. I've only just finished redlining him. Mr. Frosty, the ice cream man, who is also a fish, whose bottom half is comprised of fish. I think you know of him. And he lures people into his ice cream van. Anyway, which is a very predatory thing for an aquatic monster to do. But these monsters are predatory. That's why they're monsters. That's why Threats from the Deep is going to be such a... Monsters from the Deep. It's going to be such a scary book. Well suited to They Came From Beneath the Sea. I was a big fan of Thermids as well. Anyway. So, with that said, are there any mermaids in They Came From Beneath the Sea? You know there aren't that many. There is a merman, but he is an individual person, a single person called Mermal, I think. It's just a man who's called someone Mer Malcolm. Have I ever been to York, says David Nash. I've never been to York. I know it's a beautiful city. I don't live in Bath, but I used to live action roleplay there, which is why I did some walking around videos. Anyway, with that said, I will answer 3 more questions and then I will depart, because it is getting late and I've been redlining all day. And now I'm just going to be getting lots of different merfolk. You know, while we're talking about They Came From Beneath the Sea, if you haven't checked it out yet, please do look it up on Backerkit. Your support for that would be wonderful. It's my pride and joy. Grog Monsters, how's Mummy going? Are we going to get a Kickstarter anytime soon? I'm hoping we'll see a Kickstarter by the end of the year, because I'm developing it right now when I have the time. Daniel Achumi says, Aquatic Monsters, a human-fish hybrid. That's a nice design. And was I inspired by H.P. Lovecraft? Asks the Bard. I'm sure you were, because, you know, you had some weird resurrection yourself. And that's the kind of thing. Resurrectionists, you like writing about them. Is the book you're currently redlining the one that has the Kickstarter monsters, says David Fuller. Yes. Do I wargame, says Solomon Birch. I used to. This is more than 3 questions. Christopher O'Neill, could crab spiders steal food trucks and close off roads with baby spoods? I think they almost definitely could, and I think they definitely will. You need to watch out. Stray Reaper, any good They Came Beneath the Sea inspiration novels? Ooh, novels that are good, inspiring They Came From Beneath the Sea. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's some obviously there's some brilliant movies, and the first movies I point people towards for they came from are the movies of Larry Blamire, who co-authored the role-playing game. Movies like Trail of the Screaming Forehead, Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. He was one of the authors for They Came From Beneath the Sea, and he's also working on every single source book for it. So I recommend anything by Larry Blamire. Have you ever made your own sausage? I have. Worked in an abattoir. So yeah, people are saying goodbye now. So I don't butcher animals now. That was a long time ago, and I've since washed the blood off my hands. It was very costly, having to buy all that equipment. A Pathcast with a Robert Vance or Eric Minton interview, an Exalted Deep Dive. I'm sure we could do that for the Pathcast. We have interviewed them before on the Pathcast. They came from Beneath the Sea radio drama. We were talking about radio dramas in the Monday meeting today. No, I know they'll never be clean, Keegan. But honestly, the main reason for getting out is because so many people I worked with just kept getting infections. It's very easy to just keep cutting yourself accidentally when you're chopping up meat all day. And the kinds of infections people were getting in their wounds was disgusting. So yeah, in the end I got out before I had to amputate my hand off. So I'm going to say goodbye now, and thank you very, very much, all of you, for watching. It has been a pleasure for me to stream for you this evening. Have a good evening.